sugya, because we mentioned in the Mishnah about taking a certain medication for jaundice, that the Mishnah calls it a medication that is also ma'aked, which means that it makes a person sterile. And the question will be, aside of the isur of taking medication, and taka, it's only yasar on Shabbos, which implies that during the week you could take it. How can you take anything that is ma'aker? We're going to have through this a machlokes tanoim, whether women are mechuyev in the mitzvah of pruruvu. I know that we know the psak that women are exempt of the obligation. They get the mitzvah, but they're not obligated. But really, even beneged the obligation, it's a machlokes tanoim. We're going to have a gewaldige concept that reads, Ein lecha davar she'asur liktsa Shabbos u'muter lemitzasei. If something is mutter, it's mutter for the whole Shabbos. We're going to have a very interesting application of the concept of hoyel, since, as we'll speak out when we learn the sugya. And God willing, we're going to start the 15th chapter, the 15th Perek HaKosher, when it comes to making knots, tying a knot, and in the reverse, untying a knot. Both of these are mentioned in the Mishnah on Ayin Gimel. And as we're going to have the three categories in making a knot, you have a knot that's tied to be left tied. It's called a kesher oilamis, or sometimes called a kesher shel kayama. That's a knot that is prohibited on a doiraisa level. It's also in doiraisa. They have another type of knot that's only meant to be left there liyamim achadim. Machlekes rishonim, what that means, varying for a little bit more than 24 hours to an entire week. It's meant to be there for a while. That is a knot that is prohibited to make midrabanan. And then you have a knot that is meant to be tied and untied every day. That's a kesher that is mutter lachatchila to make on Shabbos. And in the reverse, if this knot is a knot that may not be made biblically, then untying this knot on Shabbos is also asur midoraisa. A type of knot that's only meant to be left there, liyamim achadim, such a knot may not be tied midrabanan. If such a knot was tied before Shabbos and now you untied on Shabbos, that's asur midrabanan. And any knot that's meant to be tied every single day may also lachatchila be untied on Shabbos. Let us start, Chevra. We are still on Daf Kuf Yud Amid Beis. We are more or less the middle of the Amid, right? There's two dots that helps us find the middle of the two dots. All right, this is going back, right, to a statement that we had on Daf Kuf Yud, a statement of Rabbi Yochanan, because when it said in the Mishnah regarding the types of foods and drinks that one may not consume on Shabbos if you have a michush, because it's muchach hamilsa that you're taking this lidafua. It's not Michael Bariim. So when it came to a liquid, the Mishnah gave an example of kais ikarin that you may not drink on Shabbos, and Rabbi Yochanan spoke out the three ingredients that is needed. All right, as we learned in the bottom of Kuf Yud, and then we spoke about that a woman who wants to stop her flow of zivus consumes all three of them, and she adds wine. And now Rabbi Yochanan, according to the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, the person, if you have a jaundice, we're speaking about a jaundice that comes from hepatitis. A person should take two of the three ingredients that were mentioned on Daf Kuf Yud. According to most Rishonim, it can be any of the two, and you have to add beer to it, b'shichra, and this will heal your jaundice. But one of the reasons why it's called kois shel ikarin, even though Rashi in the Mishnah touched ikar from a root, but ikar to be ma'aker lo yevacha akar also means it's going to make you sterile. Umeyakar. Okay, so before we get into the whole, can I take anything? Can any person take anything that makes them sterile? We're going to go a lot more in the voice of jaundice. Says the Gemara, the Eloi is that we had in this whole sugya. The Eloi means either you don't have the ingredients or you took this remedy and it didn't work. So like said, the shibuta, the milcha, remember the word shibuta, there's a fish called shibuta. Take dafka the head, that's salt, that is filled with salt, and the lishlei b'shichram, and boil it properly in beer, the lishlei, and drink that will resolve your jaundice. The Eloi, if you don't have the head of the shibuta, or if it didn't work, lysi moimine de kamse, or gewalt, take juice of locust. You ever heard of that? Locust juice. You're not drinking it, don't worry. We'll see soon what we do with it. And if you don't have such a juice, then bring then bring juice of nikide. Nikide is some sort of pecking bird. Maybe it says a woodpecker, but take juice of that bird and all right, and take the person who has jaundice into a schwitz, into a bathhouse. The goal is to sweat out, and the lishpiye, smear the juice on him. You don't have to drink it, and then you're going to get better. And if you don't have a bathhouse or a schwitz available, then make a improvised schwitz. Like me, bein tanura laguda, stand this person between the oven and the wall, the corner in the house where it gets very hot, and over there smear the juice on the person. When it comes to sweating out, if you want for a person to sweat, and sometimes it's needed for therapeutical purposes, is yak nechenu b'sidinoi, wrap the person tightly. Rashi gives another interpretation in one's own sheet, right? And then it's going to help you sweat out better. To appreciate that, then especially when they went to sleep, they slept without any garments on. So wearing a garment is good if you want to perspire. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Acha bar Yosef Chashbe, he suffered from this jaundice. And Avad Leirav Kahana, and Ashi says he's speaking about wrapping him in a sheet. In other words, what healed him was simply him sweating a lot, and indeed the itase, and he was healed. Now, you don't have these ingredients. Right, kefize is this keli that we just read about before, right? A 3 loy keli that's filled with tamri parsi yasa, that's filled with Persian dates, whatever they are. No, when it came to the Persian onions, they were referring to very large onions. Persian dates. Utalasa kefize, the kira, the nishterufe, and 3 keys. Again, it's a big keli filled with wax that comes from a honeycomb. Utalasa kefize ahala toila ana, and bring again this kefize filled with red aloe, and velishloy kino b'shichra, and you should boil these 3 ingredients in beer. Velishte, and now this way you have to drink. Ve'iloi, weiter, why say ila bar chamara? Bring a foal of a donkey, a young donkey. And listen to this one. And you should shave the middle of the patient's head, the person that has jaundice. So the middle of their head is uncovered with hair. And then you have to draw blood from this young donkey's face or forehead. So you take blood out of the forehead and smear the blood on the head of the patient. And that's going to work. But here you have to be careful from the side effects. What are the side effects? None of the blood should fall into the patient's eyes. But make sure that the blood doesn't go into his eyes. In order for the patient not to become, God forbid, blind. You don't want to shave your head, or you don't have this blood. Take the head of a ram that has been pickled. We just learned about pickling in brine, right, in salt water, or in vinegar, and velish like b'shichra, and boil it in beer, and velishte, and drink that. V'iloi, leisi davaracher. Davaracher means a pig. Bring a pig that is chutarana, that is speckled. Velikri, and tear open as a chazer, velois ve'alibe, and put it on the patient's heart. This, my friends, is the closest remedy to the remedy that people use today. The following remedy is not written in Chazal, so therefore it's not included in the Chedem HaKanmoidim. I have a classmate that did it, and it worked. Rabbi Eli Turin, when we were in London on Shlichus, that we came back from Crown Heights, and there was an outbreak of hepatitis. So Rabbi Hertz, may he be well with a force of the Rosh Yeshiva, first decided, based on a Midrash, that the whole yeshiva is going on a 3-day, 72-hour grape diet. We ate grapes and we drank grape juice for breakfast, lunch, and supper. That was good because it purifies the blood. It was amazing. And he got away with it. And that's all we had. And never one guy was starving. He ate a bagel and they caught him eating a bagel and given like Yehuda Soida. And then, so some Bacham Taka got hepatitis. So what they do now is they take pigeons, and they put pigeons on the navel of the patient. And you might see how it sucks out the illness. the pigeon mamish dies. And after you go through many pigeons, the patient gets better. It's Badaka Manusa. Anyways, I witnessed that. It's not written in the Gemara, but the most similar is that they brought this Davar Acher, this concept, and they ripped it open and they put it over the heart of the patient, and somehow it sucked out the illness. Back in the Gemara, Eloi, Leise Karte, Mikaf Tusa de Mishrei. You should take leeks, but if you have rows of leeks, dafka the one that is in the middle row, because that is the sharpest. And you eat that, and that's going to take away the jaundice. And indeed, Maisa says the Gemara that Ahu Tayyah, the Arab merchant, the Chashvei that had jaundice, he told his own gardener, or he told a gardener, Shkol Glimoi, I want to buy those leeks. I'm going to pay by giving you my cloak, and in exchange, Fahavli, Meshra the Karti, and give me a whole row of leeks. And indeed, they agreed to the exchange, Yovlei, and the Tayyah, Va'achola, he ate those leeks. And now, as we learned above, that part of healing is also sometimes to sweat out a lot. So he wanted to wrap himself to sweat. So then he tells him, Oishlan Galimach, I know the cloak is yours, lend it to me. Say that. And the Egni Bekali, and I'm going to sleep in it a little bit. And that's what happened. Ichrach Ganabe, Taka, the gardener, loaned him back the cloak. He wrapped himself in it properly and he slept in it. And he sweated out in it. Now, sweat has in it poison. Aside of the sweat of the face, I forgot where we learned this together, way back. But the rest of the body, I think we learned this together in the Gemara, right? That you're not allowed to put your wallet in your mouth. Maybe it was Nachem Bava Mitzia, or a coin in your mouth because it's in your pocket, and it might have some of your body sweat, which is mamish sam. Anyways, the sweat went into the cloak, and it ruined the cloak. And nafal purta mine, the sweat was so strong because the illness, the jaundice was so strong that it ruined the cloak. So basically, he needed the cloak. He needed the cloak to sweat out. So he used this cloak that was going to get ruined anyway, for stays, to get the leaks. He got the leaks, he borrowed the cloak, and then he ruined the cloak. Bottom line is, he healed himself from his jaundice. Okay, so now that we explained the kois shalikoden, and the Mishnah says, L'yeira koina, today, b'shichra, this is all Rabbi Yechanan, two of those three ingredients, and you take it and it works, but umiyachar. So now we're going to focus on the new issue. 1 second, how can you ever have it? Right, the Mishnah is basically implying that you may not drink it midrabanan if you have a michush on Shabbos, which means during the week you can have this remedy. It's prohibited midairaisa. And by the way, my friends, it's not only an isur ba'adam, it's asur for an animal. This is one of the biggest challenges that people who are veterinarians have. One of the basic bread and butter services that they are asked to do is to neuter animals. And there's a big issue with that. But let's focus on a person. Castration on a person is asur. How do we know that says the Braisa? Because it says a pasuk in Parshas Emoid. That pasuk is beginning with karbanos. And the pasuk goes through all different types of blemishes, including animals that are castrated. The pasuk says that those animals are not fit to go on the mizbeach. And then the pasuk adds, "Uba'atzechem loisasu." You can't neuter, you can't castrate an animal ba'atzechem. And the big question is, there's a klal, my friends. Agriculture halachos are connected uniquely to Eretz Yisrael, as we all know, right? We learned not long ago. Right, we learned the sugya of kilei zeroyim, and we quoted the Shulchan Aruch that kilei zeroyim are muter b'chutz laaretz. They're not also in chutz. Many other dinim, trumas from Maisris, Shemitah and Yovel, right? Anything related to plantations, to agriculture, there is where we find a difference, not all, but in many, between Eretz Yisrael and chutz laaretz. But when it comes to mitzvahs, like not to castrate, why would it be related to Israel? Why only ba'artzachem? And indeed, Chazal therefore say, take the last two letters chem. Chem means you, bachem. Not don't do it in your land. We're speaking near now, the pasuk is speaking about animals that are castrated, that are not good to go on the altar. Ba'artzachem means if you want to castrate a person, bachem loy seyasu. You may never castrate a person. These are the words of Rabbi Chanina. So we got yourselves a problem. Now here, there's a gewaldige link between the machlokes that we're having in Masechta Shabbos, B'negei Hilchos Shabbos of Davar She'ein Mischaven, and indeed, according to most of the Rishonim, these questions, like here, Davar She'ein Mischaven, is not uniquely Shabbos related, because Tosfos asks, hold on, I get it. The Torah is saying, right, Uba'artzechem bochem, you may not castrate, but I'm not intending to castrate. This person simply wants to heal himself from jaundice. So this is a Davar She'ein Mischaven. We paskin by Shabbos like Rab Shimon. Now there are those who say that by Shabbos we can always be more lenient, because by Shabbos you have the concept of meleches machsheves that we do not have b'chol ha'Torah kula, but that's not the approach of most. Tosfos, the big Tosfos here in the Amud, no, says that we take a paskin like Rab Shimon, and therefore if a person is doing something without the intent of that causing some sort of castration or neutering or making the person sterile, if it would not be psik reisha, it would not be prohibited. The reason why we're asking the question is that we take a paskin like Rab Shimon. But this kois sheli koren will for sure make you sterile, says Tosfos. Look inside the last few lines on the Tosfos. Right, that afal gav the kvar shmein and the b'Shabbos halacha Rab Shimon, and v'hasya asya afilu Rab Shimon. This question is even if you're paskin like Rab Shimon b'chol ha'Torah kula. However, since the psik reisha vadai stores b'shisias koisi konen, if a person is going to drink this remedy, it's going to take away your jaundice, but that person for sure will become sterile. Even though taka we paskin like Rab Shimon, but don't tell me it's Davar She'ein Mischaven. I don't care, because it's the psik reisha. It's kind of gewaldig. According to Tosfos and most of the Rishonim, all of these concepts that we have by Shabbos, we taka apply b'chol ha'Torah kula. So now the Gemara answers. Now these words, according to the Chidush Haran, are not to be taken literally. Answers the Gemara, Hanimili, when is a taka aser, right, to castrate? The kamechavein, again, according to Tosfos, doesn't mean that you're doing it to become sterile. Here it really doesn't matter, or let me word it better. Here, since it's a psik reisha, it's considered that you are having kavana. The Ran teaches the kamechavein means when you're doing it directly. You know what directly means? If a person is doing an act on the male organ, that's where there is an isser. Here, the person is drinking a potion. That's the way we teach the words kamechavein in the context of psik reisha. Hanamili, that it's aser, midoiraisa, hechad kamechavein, where you're doing a maisa on the organ. But over here, the person is drinking something. Taka, because let's go with Tosfos. It's called mechavein, because it's psik reisha. Nevertheless, since it's not directly, and your intention, here, go back to the intent, and your intention is only to heal yourself from jaundice. So the first answer of the Gemara is, ma'atzma you, and therefore it's permitted. Counters the Amar Rabbi Yechanan, and I'm going to prove it to you. Haroit says, sheyisad is tarnagol. The issue of castrating or is even on animals. If a person wants for the rooster to be castrated, roosters are gefelach, they're very busy. You have one rooster in the neighborhood, I forgot how many amas, 50 amas, I forgot, tremendous. He's going to impregnate all of the hens. So Yitl Karboltoi, remove the crest, and a Mistaras Ma'elov. So said Rabbi Yechanan. Now the Havamina is that when you remove the crest of a rooster, you will make the rooster incapable of having children. How are you allowed to do it? You're not allowed to castrate an animal. Is the Haraya that since you're not touching the male organ of the rooster, you're touching the crown, that's called indirect, you are allowed to do it. And by the way, there clearly you're having kavanah to do it, but you're not doing it directly. That's the word of direct. Says the Gemara, it's not true. But Rabbi Yechanan is saying, of course it's true, but your understanding of Rabbi Yechanan is false. If you take off the crown or the crest of a rooster, you do not make the rooster incapable of having children. The rooster loses its crown, it loses its pride, so it won't procreate, but it's still able to do so. And that's why you are allowed to do it. Because Begashmi is, you didn't hurt it, you only hurt the emotional of the rooster. Amazing, huh? So there's a castration that has to do with the person emotionally not being strong, not manning up, And then there is a physical neutering. The physical is what's awesome. The emotional is okay. Counters the Gemara. No. Nikita. A rooster is filled with arrogance. And part of that arrogance is why the rooster is busy with all the hens. When you take off the crest, it loses its gaiva. But it never lost its physical ability to procreate, which is why you are allowed to do it, because you didn't begash me as castrated. So we're back to the kasha. I don't care that you're drinking this cup. Why would it matter? Why are you telling me that since you're not directly touching the male organ, you are allowed to do it? No, even if you're not doing it directly, if you know for sure that it's going to be ma'aker, the person, that's already called psikresha. It's called your MERCAVA. It should be yasser. Answers the Gemara, it must be that you know who is the only person that is allowed to take this potion? Someone who's already a sadis, someone who's already castrated. So he's already a masuris. Now this person, Nebach, has drawn this. He's a person. On Shabbos, he can't take it. But in the week, he could. The Gemara is still not happy with that. Here we go. Hakoil Moedim says Rashi on top of the Amid. What are we referring to? Afalpi, guys, we learned in Bechaydas the following machloikas. A Bechar, even nowadays, even out of Israel, really has to be given to a Kohen. And even when it's given to the Kohen has to wait for it to be halachically blemished before the Kohen can consume it. What happens if you have a Bechar that is already blemished, that has a halachic mum, but it has some sort of blood clot, and the remedy to the blood clot is taking blood out of its body. And to do that, you have to pierce the animal bechar, and that piercing in itself would have rendered the bechar into a balmum, even if the bechar would have been unblemished until that point. Now, you want to save the animal, you want to take away tsa'ar from the animal. Problem is that taking out bloodletting to a bechar will make it into a balmum. So normally you may not do it. But here the animal is already a balmum. So Rashi says, he reminds us that and the back and forth is because to have a matal mum balmum, so it's the reason why it would be mutir, is because you're not blemishing the bechar. This case is the bechar is blemished anyway. So there's a machlekes tanoim. Let's go back in the Gemara. But that's only by making a mum in a bechar that's already a balmum. There's where there's a debate. However, everyone agrees when it comes to the following two isurei de'oiraisa. Isur number one, the mechametz acher mechametz. This is good chazara. Homesachta menachos. Almost all of the flour offerings in the Beis Hamikdash are dafke not chametz. They may not become chametz. They're not skinny crackers like our matzahs, but they're not leavened dough. There are only two exceptions, right? The shtei halechem that was brought as a communal shlamim with the animals on Shavuos, and 10 of the 40 loaves of the private carbon toida. Aside of that, it may not be chametz. What's going to happen if someone rendered the dough chametzdik? Now, don't forget that there were many steps in preparing a carbon mincha. If this is a type of mincha that first has to be baked, so you have, you have kneading, then you have shaping, then you have baking. What happens if the kohen who was kneading the carbon mincha already made it into chametz? It's already chametzdik. Is there now an isur to do the next step in the preparation of this dough for the carbon? Why would it be an isur? Because now you are preparing chametzdika mincha. Everyone is minded that it is asur midoiraisa. Wow. How come moedim b'mechametz acher mechametz? In other words, the second guy did nothing. The dough is already chametzdik. He's shaping it. And then the third guy is going to bake it. So whoever did any further step in something that's already, they're not even adding to the chimutz, it's already chametzdik. It doesn't matter. He's chayiv. And that's shenemar, because we have two psukim, one in Parshas Sav, one in Parshas Vayikra. In one pasuk, there is a specific, loy say afe, don't bake chametz. In the other pasuk, it says, loy say asa, don't make. Now, making includes baking, right? So this is your classical eighth klal of the Yud Gimel Midos, that davar, called davar shebechlal, the yotza min hakol alamed, loy lalamed alatzma yotza. Ela lalamed ala kol kol yatsa. In other words, Hashem could have just written, don't make it chametz. Why did Hashem add, don't bake it chametz? To teach you that if it was already previously made chametz, you baked it, you baked the dough, even though it was already chametz, you're violating a law. But it's not only on the baking, any step in the process, shaping, whatever, any step in the process is going to be aser hakol moedim. And number two, if a person was already castrated, and then comes along another one, and he did another step, he further castrated the person, he's oived an isur d'oraisa. And how do we know that? Again, on Parshas Emor. Now, again, this pasuk is speaking about beginning with karbanos, but the Torah gives specific blemishes in animals, which render them unfit to be served on the altar, followed which the Torah says the words uba'artzechem, right? Loisasu bochem loiseyasu, so umoch v'kasus v'nasuk v'charus. Squeezed, crushed, detached, and cut. Now we understand that cut means partially cut. That's the understanding. And nasuk, detached, means completely detached. So the question is, if it's only partially cut, it's already considered castrated, can't go on the mizbeach, you may not do it. So al nasuk le'kol shchein, nasuk is more castrated. Begashmis, it's completely detached. And that's the source. Elo, lahavi noisik, acher koines, that is chayiv. We're speaking about all the artzechem loiseyasu. So we're back to the problem. So don't tell me that when can a person drink a kosher likaron if the person is already castrated, still, you're not allowed to do it. You're not doing it directly. I don't care that you're not doing it there. Who says there's a difference? You don't have intent. You do have intent. Psikresha. Elo, it's only bizakein. No, it's a person is old. Here, when does the Torah aser b'mesaras acher mesares? Here again, we find an isur d'oraisa that's connected with appearances. The observer will see a doctor or whoever completely detaching one's private parts. It looks like he's doing an act of castration, even though that person was already not functioning. That's also d'oraisa. But if a person is old, that's the pshat old, and therefore everyone knows that this man can no longer procreate. Here we're going with the premise, castrating this person will be permitted. Even an older person that right now lost his koyach gavra, he can get it back. There's remedies for that. And even before he got it back, since he potentially can get it back, it's still asur midoraisa to do an action that will be masadasim. If you remember, the last time we had so many daf together of remedies was in Gittin. Remember that the whole Perek begins Misha Achazu Kordiyakos. The Gavaldikas, we had many daf of remedies, and over there, at the end of the sugya, there was a remedy to give an older man the koyach of his youth back, his koyach gavra. And Rabbi Yochanan says, hey, I took those remedies and I went back to my youth. It worked. But since there is a way for a zaken to get his power back, even if he lost it, even if he did not do it, it's asur midoraisa to do an action directly or indirectly that's going to make him sterile. So we're back to the question. The Mishnah is implying that during the weekdays, if you have jaundice, you could take this. Why? Because it's being ma'aker you. Ella be'isha. Who is allowed to take it? A woman who has jaundice. Hold on. Why is a woman different than a man? So Rashi, we're learning Gemara Rashi. Look inside Rashi. It's a few lines in the Rashi above the Mishnah in Rashi. Ella be'isha zakt Rashi. She'ena mitzuva b'piri v'rivya. Since she's not obligated in the mitzvah of privy, like we learned in Yavamis. And what's the source of that? It's good to remember the source when it says in the beginning, in the Rashis, right? And really the pasuk begins that God told Adam and Chava, fill the world, v'chivshua, and conquer it. Now I know that Rashi writes the word v'chivshua with the last two letters is a vav and a hey. But if you look inside a chumash, no, it's without the vav. So there is a malupim under the shin. It's pronounced v'chifshuha, but it's written without a vav. That's the source. Why did Hashem write it without the vav? That the obligation is only on the conqueror. And the nature of a man is to conquer. These are the words of Chazal. And since we're missing a letter, so that's excluding one of the two, it makes sense to exclude the woman from the obligation. That's the source of woman not being obligated in Pruruvu. Just to point out that even according to this opinion, and we paskin like this opinion, like Daran says that women are not obligated in the obligation, but they are included, l'kula alma, in the mitzvah rabbah, in the great mitzvah of having children. Anyways, coming back over here. So Rashi's making this link. That l'chayra, why may one not castrate? Because then you're going to take away the ability of the mitzvah. That's a big chiddush of Rashi. Not everyone agrees with it. Guys, let's not forget, there's no mitzvah on animals to procreate. There's no mitzvahs on animals at all. Nevertheless, there's an isur on us to castrate an animal. So it's not linked. But here it is linked, according to Rashi. Since women are not mechuyev, so therefore, uba'artzechem, bochem loisayasu doesn't go on women. And therefore, if she has jaundice, now hold on a second. I just want to bring out that halacha lamaisa, we paskin based on another pasuk. It's a pasuk that we read, many of us read in V'itnu Chamotzoi Shabbos, where it says, lo yeh b'cha akar va'akara, which is literally to be taken as a bracha, that there will not be found amongst you men or women that are unable to procreate. We actually learned that this is a lav midoiraisa, that we're not allowed to do an action that will make a man into an akar. We may not do an action that will make a woman into a akara. Now, how do we reconcile that with the sugi here? So one approach will be is that la yeh b'cha akara refers to a woman or a man doing an action to the reproductive organs of a woman. That's asur. One example will be, it's good for women to know, is that one is not allowed to tie the tubes of a woman. Because, and it's isur da'anaisa, and that's doing a maisa back to the direct, to the organs that reproduce in the woman. We're not only speaking about the woman not doing it, a gynecologist may not do it to a woman. Dr. Danny, it's good to know that's asun midoiraisa. However, here we're speaking about a woman drinking kosher lekadim. We're going to go back to that, even though it's a psikresha, but it's not directly. We're going to say that now the premise is that it's permitted. Says the Gemara, that answer is not good according to everyone, because really, let's go back to Yavamas, there was a machlokes tanoim, and according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, he holds, don't bring me v'chifshua on the vav. Go back to that pasuk. You know, how much can you cut a pasuk in half? The pasuk where it says Prudavu begins with the words Vayivarach Oisam Elikim, Vayomer Lohem. Then God tells them Prudavu. It's kind of amazing that the other Tanaim don't agree with this. It just shows you how we are allowed to, in Play Shabbat Peh, take a pasuk apart. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika says if the pasuk begins speaking to them, then everything in the pasuk is to them. And if a woman is obligated in Prudavu, then back to the kasha. She should not be allowed to drink this cup that's going to make her sterile, even though she's not doing it directly to her reproductive organs. So finally, the Gemara answers is that either our Mishnah is speaking about an elderly woman, go back to Gittin, Luka, you have to figure out what those medications are for the men. Those work, al piderech hateva. And an old man, no matter how Rabbi Yochanan was very old, gets back his koyach of his youth. However, by a woman, there aren't such medications. Now, we have throughout the Torah and later in history, miracles that happen to women, okay? A miracle is different. But since when a woman reaches a certain age, when she no longer can reproduce because of her, she's a zakena, there's no way of her getting that back. From that point and on, since there is no appearance, everyone understands that anyway she cannot reproduce. So if she's going to drink this cup of remedy for the jaundice, and people know, that's going to make her sterile, everyone knows that she's sterile anyways. So there's no appearance issue that's going to be allowed. Inami, that it's a woman that's born as a yakara. In other words, everyone knows that she, B'teva, is unable to have any children, And the question is whether we can give this answer of being born in Akara for a man also. That's a debate here amongst the Rishonim, but that's a fascinating sugya. Again, linking the mitzvah of Frurevu to the issur of consuming something that indirectly causes the woman to become sterile. And according to our Gemara, she'll be allowed to do so. This final answer is only according to the Tana. Okay, let's go weiter. Next Mishnah. We're continuing to learn the issur. We spoke out the 4 categories. Someone who has a michush may not take a remedy, if this is something that's not Michael B'riyim, because mucha chamilsa de l'rafua, and even if you know that you're not allowed to grind on Shabbos, an observer might come and learn from you, and that's why it's asur midrabanan. So continues the Mishnah. Hachoishes b'shinov, right? That's a great example of a michush. Someone who has a toothache, and I know that sometimes a toothache is so terrible you have to lay down. Then you're called a chayla she'ein by sakana. But in most cases, the tooth is hurting you, not terribly. You're not a buddy. You're being inconvenienced. You're feeling a tsar, but you're functioning. You'll be able to function, and you will function whether you have a remedy or not. So here says the Mishnah, Lo yigama b'henes hachaymetz. Don't sip vinegar, having the vinegar go, swish around those teeth. That's something that b'ri'im do not do, and therefore you may not do it. Aval, but now that we know that vinegar resolves a toothache, metabel hukedarkai. Eat food. Many people, they eat food in vinegar. So you're going to dip your food into vinegar. The observer, again, it's Michael B'riyim. They won't know that you're doing it because you have a toothache, and then you will be allowed. And even though ve'im nisrapa, gesundheit nisrapa. Okay. Achoishish b'masnav, the person feels pain in the lower part of his body, in his loins. So lo yasuch yain v'chaymetz. Why here again? Because who smears wine or vinegar on the lower parts of the body? Only people that have this illness. If their masnav is paining them, it's not done by B'riyim. Aval sochu es hashemen, but he can smear it with oil. Oil means olive oil. Then today we have creams. Then the common was you smeared yourself, right, with Olivia here, with the olive oil, and that's something that's done by healthy people, so there's no issue. However, the loy shemen vered, but not in rose oil. Rose oil functions, it heals. Rose oil, according to the Tanach, is, since it was expensive in many areas, it was not used unless you were ill. So therefore, if you are ill, don't use it. However, b'nei melachim, that they, they use rose oil, sachin shemen vered al makoiseyem. They smear, in other words, they use rose oil even when they're not sick. For them, even B'riyim do it. So if you are ill, you can do it. If you are a b'nei malachim, if you're a wealthy person, all right, even if they don't have a wound. So in that, for those people, for that class, it's not mucha chamilsa. And here we have Rav Shimon. This Rav Shimon we have many other times throughout Shas, each time in a different context. But here we're speaking about it's coming from the Rav Shimon's approach that Kol Yisrael b'nei malachim heim. Every Yid is considered a prince, meaning that even if right now you're living in a place where only the wealthier people smear themselves on a daily basis, or not for remedy purposes, with rose oil, you can do it right now. You can do it on Shabbos because it works. There is an appearance. There is no appearance for a Yid. Whenever a Yid does something that is done by the wealthy, it's common. Kol Yisrael b'nei malachim.
Rabbi.
Okay. Yes.
Is there no issur of smearing on Shabbos? Like, how does that fit in here?
Very good. So memachek is only when you're using something that is very thick. Let's begin. Soap, solid, you may not use because you're rubbing down a solid into a liquid. Something that's very liquidy. Now, where do you draw the line? That you have in the place where you draw the line. But oil is a chamamish liquidy. Liquid, there's no problem smearing yourself with oil. Problem will be with certain, there's like a cream, there's a lotion. I think cream means it's more substantial. A lotion means it's less substantial. Let's go right now with Corona, right, with the liquid soaps. We use any liquid. You have those people that say, no, if it's too thick, then you can't wash your hands with it. All right, we don't go there. meaning Lubavitcher Poiskim, especially now, if it's liquid soap, wash your hands with liquid soap. But that's the issue here, correct? If it's oil, Kula Alma Mishnah, you're allowed to use it. Very good. So there was Rav Abba Aricha, now we have Rav Acha, the tall one, or the one that lived long. And he is also sometimes known as Rav Acha Bar Papa. He asked to Rabbi Bohu of the following contradiction. It says, Tnan, HaChoshus B'Shinov, that's our Mishnah. Lo Yigama Behenes HaChometz. In other words, clearly we see over here, Lememru the Chometz Malo L'Shinayim. That vinegar is good for your teeth. Yeah, Zoya Mishnah, it says in Mishlei. V'Haksiv, K'Chometz L'Shinayim V'Cha'ashen Lo'inayim. That something is as detrimental like vinegar to your teeth and like smoke to your eyes, right? And we're speaking about laziness. Bottom line is that it's not good. So answers two answers. One answer is meaning mishlei b'kiyor de pri. If your vinegar comes from grapes, so you have to make sure you have a hechsher on your vinegar. Many vinegars come originally from grapes. So if the fruit was unripe, the vinegar is detrimental. Our Mishnah is speaking about normal vinegar. It came from properly developed grapes, and that's good. And this is a bachlal. This is a good rule when it comes to remedies. Remedies are good for sick people. Many medications, if a healthy person will take it, it's going to make them sick. That's by vinegar. The ikamaka. Our Mishnah is there's a maka. When you have a wound on your teeth, vinegar is good for your teeth. The pasik, the lekamaka. Ikamaka masei, lekamaka. If you don't have a wound, merape doesn't mean it heals you. From refuah, merape means it loosens your teeth. It ruins, it does damage. So don't take medications if you don't need it. It says in the Mishnah, lo yigama ben sachametz. Weiter. In fact, the Gemara steht na braisa that lo yigamo poilet. You can't swish it in your mouth and spit it out because then it's clear that you're doing it l'refuah. But Avol, the Braisa says, Migameya ubaileya. You can sip it through your teeth, and if you swallow it, it's a good. The fact that the Mishnah doesn't say that, l'chu'ura implies that the Mishnah never allows it. So Abaya answers, no, ki tanan, nami masnisin is only migameo tanan. But enachanami, if you're gonna put it in your mouth and you're gonna swallow it, our Mishnah will also allow you to do it. That's Abaya. Rava says, no. Our Mishnah doesn't even allow you to swallow it. I state in the Braisa that it's allowed. It depends when. Kan means the Braisa. You are allowed to swallow it. That's lifnei tibul. People dipping. Dipping means eating. In the beginning of a meal, people would drink vinegar. Makes sense? Not in those days. So again, anything that you're doing that doesn't appear to be obviously the l'refuah is mutter. And again, even driyim would drink vinegar before the meal. Our Mishnah that never allows you to have vinegar is la'achar tibul. After the meal, if it's not l'refuah, no one is going to consume vinegar unless you are ill. Mucha chamilsa de l'refuah. Hold on. The name if you Rabbi, you say that can be because now we're gonna learn a certain concept called hoyel. Hoyel means sense. Now, Chavre, you have to get used to these ways of thinking. But you, Rabbi, cannot say that. Because if Taka, you will hold that there is a time that you are allowed to drink vinegar, which is lifnei tibul, then v'nema, you have to say that mid the lifnei tibul shari, la'achar tibul na b'shari. You would have to say that. And look, I want to read inside the Rashi. Rashi is like a third, 2/3 down in the narrow part of the Rashi. The name of the lifting table shari chulei. Look inside these words of Rashi. The ein locha sha'asur lemixas haShabbos umutal lemiktzasi. There's no such a thing. Something is prohibited for some of Shabbos, permitted for the rest of Shabbos. And let's read inside the Rashi. He'll give us a good intro to this whole concept. We learned Rava himself. We're in Perek Yom Tov, which is a Masechtas Beitzah. The Amar Gabi Tefilla. Can you toivel in the mikvah? Can you toivel in the mikvah? So he says that on Yom Kippur you can toivel in the mikvah. How does he get there? So there's step number one, step number two. Step number one is that on Shabbos, as we continuously learn in this Masechta, even though there was a time that they made a takana that you may not bathe in warm or hot waters, But in the times of the Gemara, it was still permitted to bathe in cold waters. Now, can you toivel in the mikvah of Shabbos? Why not? What would be the issue? So there is a rabbinic issue. Just like midoiraisa, we may not be mesake in a keli. When a person is tamei, even if it's tfilas ezra, and they're going to the mikvah, it takes away that tumah. So you're being mesaken, right? You're fixing yourself. Now, it's not a discernible tikkun. I get all that. On a doiraisa level, for sure, there's no issue. The question is there a rabbinic issue? So the step number one is that no problem. Why is it no problem? Because since people are allowed to bathe on Shabbos in cold water, so since you can bathe, when you're going to go taka to take away tumah, no one will know that you're going in there to take away tumah. People are going to think you're going to bathe. So on Shabbos, it's mutter. Then says Rava Hoyo, since is like this. Question is, can you go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur? And guys, we don't go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur. But Rava subscribes to the shita that you are allowed to go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to bathe. You can't do the chitza. But he has a hoyo. Hoyo, it can be B'chlal. Yom Kippur is not as chomer as Shabbos in the context of if a person violates Shabbos, b'mezid chayv skila. A person violates Yom Kippur, b'mezid like a chayv kadis, but there's no skila. So since on Shabbos it's permitted, can be that on Yom Kippur it's prohibited, and he allows you to go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur. All of that we learned over there. Okay, you can argue on this, but that's the concept of hoyo. There are certain premises. If it's permitted on a more chamurdika time, it has to be permitted on the more lenient time. Now we are making this link. Hoyo, it can be that something is prohibited in part of Shabbos and mutar in part of Shabbos. Hoyo, it's allowed. If indeed it would be allowed to drink vinegar and to swallow it before a meal, it has to be permitted after the meal. Let's go back and the Gemara. Again, Velema. Rava can't say that. The lifting table shari, la'achar table nami shari dishma'in leila Rava the islay hoyo. Dama Rava, as we just quoted from Beitza. That lekamida, the b'Shabbos shari ubiyama kippirim aser. Can be lekamida. Shabbos is skila. Yom Kippur there's no skila. And therefore, going to the mikveh to take away tumah, hoyel u'b'Shabbos shari, ubiyama kippirim nama shari. So the same thing over here can be the miksa Shabbos is asir, or the miksa Shabbos is mutter. Hoyel or mutter, the miksa Shabbos, mutter the ganze Shabbos. That is the kasha, and the kasha is so strong. The Gemara says, indeed, Hader Bey Rava Mahach. Rava Taka subscribes to Hoyel. Now that Rava subscribes to Hoyel, it must be that if you're going to swallow vinegar, even after a meal, you are allowed to do it. I know a healthy person swallows it after a meal. Hoyo, before the meal, you can swallow it, then it's Michael Beriyim. It's mutter lemixas, it's mutter lakula. And now Rav is going to have to subscribe to Abaya's answer to reconcile the stira between the Mishnah and the Braisa. Yechevra, that what is prohibited, our Mishnah, to put vinegar and to spit it out. Muchacham also the l'refuah. A Braisa that says you can consume vinegar, that's to swallow it. Says the Gemara, I get it, that Rava needs to retract from one of the two statements, but maybe Rava doesn't subscribe to this application of Hoyel. You got to appreciate this application of Hoyel. The counter to this is, what are you talking about? On Shabbos, you can take a bath. So when a guy goes to the mikvah, it doesn't look like he's being Mesakim Keli. You can argue he's going to bathe, he's going to cool off. You can't take a hot bath, you can take a cold bath. On Yom Kippur, it's Asur B'Rechitza. It's one of the 5 Inuyim. Anyways, Hoyel, maybe he retracted from that application of oil. Says the Gemara, no, it can't be, because it says in a Braisa, Kol Chayove Tefilla Toivlin Kedarkon. And that is what Rav is coming to explain. How can you say you can be Toivel on Yom Kippur? And we don't do that, but the Braisa says you could, and you have to use Hoyel. So Rav never retracted from that oil. And that Hoyel will be applicable over here also. Hoyel, that you are allowed to drink vinegar, lifnei tibul, has to be that mutar la'achar tibul. Okay.
Do we find the concept of Hoyel elsewhere?
Oh, all over the place. It's a machpashat slate. But this type of application, just to appreciate, we're not zoichet. Das balabatam hepach das toira. That's the way I identify. We're not connected enough to godliness to appreciate this. And I understand the words, but it didn't yet resonate. It's not resonating because something is wrong in my ruchnius over here. Hoyel, there's so many counter arguments, but no, Rava says Hoyel, lekemida. If Shabbos mutter, has to be Yom Kippur mutter. Here, it has to be that if there is any time on Shabbos that having this vinegar and swallowing it, it doesn't look like you're doing it l'refuah, so it's always going to be mutter. Now, maybe I would also argue that this logic is only being used for an Isur D'Rabbanan. We can't say this on an Isur D'Oraisa. I also want to argue that it's not always the case. You have a basis l'davar hasur that if when Shabbos came in, it was a basis both to asur and mutter, both. Like you had on the tray of your leichters, you had a chitas or you had a becher, something chashuv. Then you took it off. Now on the tray to the leichters is only the leichters. Right now it's asur to move it. But since Ben Hashmashes, it was a basis to both. If you put something else on the tray right now, you could move it. We don't always say that, and why don't we say if it was mutter for some of Shabbos, it's mutter for the whole Shabbos? We don't always apply that. That's simple.
Right, clearly with muksa, there's times where it could be.
So I'm saying,
and then later
exactly.
It is.
Now,
but Rabbi, what about the concept of loy plug? Is connected to this hoil business?
But we're saying, oh, very good. I'm happy we're finishing with this. Appreciate how hoil is the opposite of loy plug. It's the same logic. Loy plug, every time you're going to learn loy plug, it's l'chumra. People argue, why didn't you allow it? So they say loy plug. Loy plug, we're from, we get l'chumras. Even though in this circumstance, the logic would permit it. Here, hoil, Rav is using l'kula. That's the beauty of hoil. Hoil, there's a time that it's allowed, even though now it should not be allowed. Now it's muchach de l'refuah. No one drinks vinegar after a meal. I never drink vinegar, but no one drinks vinegar. Hoil mutter. Exactly, very good worded. Hoil is loy plug l'kula. Wow. Okay. So it only brought down, one of the remedies was smearing your body with rose oil. Do people b'chlal use rose oil? That Chachamim say, yeah, if you're wealthy, b'nei melachim. Rab Shimon says, Kol Yisrael b'nei melach. Omar Rabbi Barzav Rav, halacha ki Rab Shimon. Fragte Gemara lememra de Rav ki Rab Shimon sfirolei. Again, look at this. Look inside Rashi, 3 lines before the bottom of the Amid. Lememra de Rav bekulei. It's a big difference in Girsa. Bekulei metakuf, bekulei metachaf. Shabbos sfirolei ki Rab Shimon. We're putting all of the Rab Shimons together. And indeed it works. All of the Rab Shimons, by Melacha Shin Tzricha Lagufa, Rab Shimon is the Mekel. By Davar She'em Eschavin, Rab Shimon is the Mekel. Here, by smearing yourself with rose oil, Rab Shimon is the Mekel.
Also by Muksa, he's the Mekel.
By Muksa, very good, thank you. He's the Mekel. Clear. Yeah, there's a logic behind that. Danny shared with me a good word. These are the words that since Rab Shimon is the father of Pnimiyas HaTorah. No, what's that? Is your kavana even counted halachically? Normally, the pasuk says that I didn't even know what's in your mind. What was your intent? Normally, intent, I don't know what your intent is. What did you do? No, Rab Shimon, who cares about kavana, he cares about the pnimiyas, he gives more value to it, even lakula, because that means if you didn't have kavana, then you're not going to be punished for that. That was also connected to the story of Lag BaOmer and Daf Lamed Gimel. What was the intent of the Romans? They did nice things, but if their intent was rotten, he used it rotten. But here also, by Shem and Vered, by B'nai Melachim, intent, the inner Jew is B'nai Melachim. That's the word. We're wealthy. We're premius. B'chitzonius, some of us not yet. Okay, weiter. So, and they're all connected. So if you're paskening here, that means you pasken always like Rab Shimon. But indeed, does Rav pasken like Rab Shimon? For Amar Rab Shimon Bar Chiya Mishmei de Rav. The stopper of the barrel. Finally, Chevra Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amid Beis. We're getting somewhere. You have a barrel of wine, a barrel of beer, and there was a spigot. And it's those days, not nowadays. And the spigot was never fully affixed in the barrel, which means it was common for some of the expensive liquids to seep out, basically in between the pipe, in between the spigot and the walls of the barrel. And how did you resolve that? You put a shmata in there, you resolved it. But this shmata slowly but surely absorbs in it some of the wine, some of the beer, some of whatever the liquid is. Question is, can you affix it better? It's starting to get loose. And we say that asur lahadloi ki b'yom ha'toiva kal v'chomer on Shabbos. Why is that? Because you're doing schita because you're doing, and what's the isur of schita? We spoke this out a couple of daf ago. It's good to remember this klal. If you are squeezing out water, then schita is asur because of melabein. You're cleaning the garment. If the garment has in it anything other than water, remember, schita is asur, midai raisa. It's a tulda of threshing, tulda de dash. And even though it's food related, even on yontiv it's asur. Now hold on over here. L'chu'ura, it's davar she'ein mischaven. Right? You're not intending to squeeze anything out. You just want to make sure that this shmata is fixed in its place. And why would he asur it? It must be because we're subscribing to Shitas, Rabbi Yehuda, the davar she'ein mischaven is still asur. And if we were paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, then we would not paskin like Rab Shimon over here. We don't look at the pnimius, we look at the chitzonius. Answers the Gemara, it's not true. He says you can't affix the shmata in the barrel. That's even according to Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon says davar she'ein mischaven is muter shkoyach. It's a psik reisha. Here, feel Rab Shimon will be moided that it's asur because the Abaye, the Rava, the Amri Tarvayu, moided Rab Shimon psik reisha v'lo yamos. That what the chayda that it's even asur midoi reis. Still, the Gemara asks for Amar Rab Chia bar Ashi Amar Rav. Regarding davar she'ein mischaven, that Rav paskins like Rabbi Yehuda. Rab Chanan quotes Shmuel paskening like Rab Shimon. That's one version. Or Rab Chia bar Avin masna lo b'loy gavra. He learned it, not someone said it in the name of L'chatchila. He's quoting Rav himself. Rav paskins like Rabbi Yehuda. Shmuel paskins like Rab Shimon. So if you paskin, if Rav paskins like Rabbi Yehuda, how can he paskin here like Rab Shimon? Elo Amar Rava. I want you to know regarding this challenge. Ani va'ari shebachabura. Me and the line of our group, we both explained it. Now, before we give their explanation, says the Gemara, who is the line of the group of Rava, not Rava, someone else, Rab Chia bar Avin, and what did they explain? What Rav was paskening, that the poil you can smear yourself with the rose oil. Halacha Rab Shimon, but v'lav mitamei, which means like this. What does that mean? My halacha Rab Shimon v'lav mitamei. Rab Shimon deshari v'lav mitamei, because Rab Shimon saw that it heals, and Rav held that rose oil doesn't heal, and therefore, like we are learning in our whole sugya, that anything that taka doesn't heal, even though you are doing it with a fuah, do it gesund to hate. It's not working. That can't be. What rose oil does not heal. Even the Tanach agrees that if you are b'nei malachim and you are sick, you can smear yourself with rose oil because the lav mucha chamilsa. But the Tanach holds that it heals. Rab Shimon holds that it heals. What the Rav will argue with both Tanaim, it doesn't make sense. But everyone holds the masi. Ella, it means halachi Rab Shimon deshari. But lav mitamei, why? The Ilu Rab Shimon saw that afal gavdolay shchiach sharei. Rab Shimon holds, based on, again, he's him looking at the pnimius of everyone. The pnimius, every yid is wealthy. So every yid is a b'nei malachim. Rav doesn't subscribe to that. But Rav holds that you know why everyone can use rose oil, because in the place of Rav, everyone used rose oil. It was not expensive. Here in LA, the Persians use rose oil. It's not expensive. But Rav Savar, it would be expensive. Lav Dafka, they would all use it. Rav Savar, Ishchiachin, he also holds, like the Chacham, Mishchei, V'ila Shchiach Loi, Elamah, Ba'asra de Rav, Shchiach, Mishcha de Vardom, Gevaldik, Chemra, Or Hashem, Hadran Aloch Shmoyne Shratzim, with the whole sugya of Refuas, Bechulei, and God willing, in the next class, we're going to start the 15th chapter of Kosher, to be continued. Wow. Now we're getting up to time. We're going to starting 7. We're at 8 o'clock.
Rabbi, I had a friend who also had hepatitis, and they used 13 pigeons, and he was cured.
Mamash cured.
Mamish.
Cured. I remember that clearly. Now we're not on Chabad.org. Yankee Reichik was dying to eat. You don't understand? Can you imagine? He got away with murder. 3 days. They served no food.
I remember when they were doing the grapes in London. I remember that.
And it was actually the Rebbe allowed it is. He came with it. He found a Midrash. I remember he found a Midrash that grapes purify the blood. So he comes to the Zal with the court of the Midrash. That's the heal. Everyone is for 72 hours going to have grapes. Guys, the bathrooms were busy the whole time. It was Meshuggah. And Yankee went to a Grudensky. There was like a bakery there.
Grzinski.
Nebuch, Rachmanis. You know, and he was eating a donut. and Rabbi Hertz caught him, "Du machst mir Aliyah the ganze yeshiva." Because it's contagious, the hepatitis. That means that since he was convinced that Yankee is going to get it, because he ate one Danish Nebuch, so everyone is getting, so the whole grapes was Levatala. Oh, that was so funny. It was Meshuggah.
But it's not Dafka 13, the number 13 pigeons. I remember the number.
No.
Until they stop dying. You use the pigeons, they use the pigeons.
Yeah.
Now, who had it? Taylor. It was a Bacher Taylor that had it. And there was Eli Turn.
Mendel Zeiler, I think, was there also then. He had.
Not when I was there.
No,
it could be. He stayed, I remember he moved into, what's the Rav now in Melbourne?
Telsner?
Telsner, yeah. But Hertz was so afraid because it's contagious. He moved him into Telsner was Makabelim. And he was yellow. I remember he was yellow eyes. It was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mama Shamachla.
Yeah, the pigeons died one after another.
The pigeons died one after the other, and he got bad. Mama should heal them.
Yeah.
And then people were arguing that it's Darkei Amoidi. You can do it. We do it. The main thing is it's not in the Gemara, because if it will be in the Gemara, you can't do it. The Gemara doesn't mention it and mentions 1,000 remedies. Not this, Gesundheit.
It's not in the medical science either, Rabbi.
No, it's not, huh?
No, any doctor will tell you that it's mamish hocus pocus.
Okay. And what will they say in the rest of the Gemara here? I have no idea. All right, let me again. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos Daf Kuf Yud Beis. We are starting the 15th chapter already, Kosher. We already spoke out the intro on the previous Daf, hoping to get here. We have 3 types of making nuts. One of them is going to be called a Kesher Oilamis. Kesher Oilamis means a Kesher Shel Kayama. You're doing it to stay. That is usher to make on Shabbos Midah Eraisa. And if you untied such a knot on Shabbos, you also violated, we learned in Daf Ayin Gimel, Kosher Umatir, the Isser of untying. There is a lower level of making a knot, and that is you're making a knot. It should only be liyamim achadim machloikes v'shoinim. We paskin if it's going to be left, if it's made to be left for more than 24 hours, it's already called liyamim achadim. We're going to learn Rashi Shita is not that it's a week. Then making that knot is also midrabanan. Untying that knot is also midrabanan. What's included in that? If you remember all the Fruma Shuls, when you do Galila and a Sefer Torah, right? Do Galila on Shabbos, Mincha. When are you going to read the Torah the next time? Monday? So that's more than 24 hours. So if you remember now, that's the reason why all of the newer Sifrei Torah, they have a Velcro. When I grew up, when we grew up, at least the people here that have shtick white in their beards, all of the Sifrei Torah, they had a gartel. And if all of the Fruma Shuls, if you remember, they never made a bow. They would stick it inside. Remember that? They would get everyone accustomed to not making a knot, because they would argue that if you do that on Shabbos, it's also midrabanan. Okay, and then you have something that's made to be tied or untied every day. That's mutar lechatchila. These are the 3 general categories according to Rashi. I'll speak out right now. This is such a geshmaka sugya that there is a Gemara that we'll learn, God willing, today, that the Rambam adds, he understands, the Gemara speaks about a shoemaker, and he adds a element of called Maisa Uman. When you add Maisa Uman, it's a Chumra and a Kula. According to the Rambam and other Rishonim, when is it also Doiraisa? When both it's meant to last and it's done by a professional. Which means, according to the Rambam, if you tie a knot and you plan to leave it there forever, but it's not a professional knot, it's only Asr Midrabanan. It's only Asr Midrabanan. Mitzat Sheni, according to the Rambam, if you tie a knot and you plan to undo it today, it's not even liyamim achadim, but it's a professional knot, it's still going to be Asr Midrabanan. Anyways, that's only the Rambam. We're going to learn the Gemara and Rashi. We're going to learn about the unique shoes that the Rabbanan wore in the times of the Gemara, because many people until now, you have shoelaces. Can you tie your shoelaces on Shabbos? So we're going to learn that the rabbinic shoes are still asur midrabanan to tie or untie on Shabbos. We'll learn a machlokes Rashi and Dari. Why is that? Obviously, the knot was left for longer. We'll see why was the knot left for longer. We're going to get me'ingen, speaking about shoelaces, we're going to learn some laws of Tuma V'Tara, that a sandal or a shoe becomes tummy with the tumas of Midrash if their wearer, let's say, is a zav, because it's meant to hold the weight of the person. Then we're going to learn halach is that when a keli becomes bottled, when it loses its status, the tuma automatically goes away. And we're going to have phenomenal scenarios where the sandalim of the days of Chazal, they had both on the outer part and on the inner part, they had these loops. They had these loops through which certain straps were put. Now, if the loop breaks, then you can't use the sandal. Sometimes if it broke in a location that no one would even fix it because it would remain very unattractive. So then it loses its status of a sandal. Question is, does it lose its status of a keli altogether? If it loses its status of a sandal, it's going to lose tumas midras. If it's still at least called a keli, not a sandal, but a keli, so we're going to learn the concept that it's going to become tamei maga midras. Means if something is a midras, it's an av. If an av touches something else, the something else becomes a rishon. If this sandal breaks to the point that it's still a keli, but it's not a sandal, so it loses midras, but it touched itself. The old one, you get the old sandal, while it broke, is touching this new keli, so it becomes tamei as a rishon. And many other dinim. Let's start on Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis in the Mishnah. Zok the Mishnah. The Elu Kesharim Shechayavin Aleim Chayavin means midoraisa. Example number one is Kesher Hagemolin. So this is how it works. A camel, through the nose, they made a hole, and they would affix a ring permanently. Lo ilamis. And then whenever they would want to keep the camel in a place, they would put through that ring another rope and tie a knot and tie it to a post. And now the camel was affixed in its place. So the one on the nose was left forever. The one that they would attach to the nose ring, to the post, well, it depends. If the camel was going to be there for a few hours. If they would leave the camel there for a week, they would leave it for a week. That's already, it's not a ilamis, but it's more problematic. That's the Kesher Gemalim. Then he's laughing. I don't know why. And then you have Kesher Hasapanim, very similar. So you have the mast, right, in the front of the ship. Through it, you would tie a ring. That ring that would stay in the mast would stay forever. And then when you want to anchor the ship, you would tie another knot through that and tie it to the harbor. So we'll see which one are we are referring to the one that stays forever. That's usud. Then the Mishnah says, Shem shu chayiv al kishuran, any type of knot that's usud midoraisa, kachu chayiv al etedon. And if you remember above, that when we would trap the chilazon in the desert, yes, we trapped chilazons in the desert, the nets, sometimes the knots in the nets are called a lamis, because it was normally left there forever. But sometimes they would have to change the size of the net, and for that they would untie the knots. That is where you have in the Melechas HaMishkan, right, Koisher umatir, both being a isur d'oraisa. It's interesting, B'chal, when it comes to Melechas Shabbos, just to have halkop, not all undoings is called a av. I think there's 4 of them, right? Writing and erasing, building and demolishing, koisher umatir, right? Sewing and unsewing. That's it. Those are the 4. The other ones, lav dafka. But there's a rule also to remember that kilkul, kolam, akalkalin, may be chutz michoyvel umaver. We had it not that long ago, but we're not speaking about an act of kilkul. It's an undoing of a knot. You know, think about your shoes. It's not an act of kilkul. You're going to get your shoes out, your feet out when you undo it. Okay, now comes along Rav Meir and he adds another element. Kol kesheshu yachal atire ba'achas miyadav. Even if you made this knot to remain there forever, we're going to call this, my friends, a bow. That means that you only need one hand to undo it. According to the Tanach of Meir, you will not be chayiv. Now, not being chayiv means it's not also d'oraisa. But Rav Meir is not saying that it's mutter. As we'll speak when we speak about the shoes. The reason why we are allowed, if you have shoes with laces, to put on the laces, to take off the laces, or a tie, it's not because, it's not enough by the fact that you can do it by achas miyadav. The ikit has to be for you to be mutter, that's according to everyone, is that it's not a ma'aser uman, right? Everyone can tie a tie, everyone can tie a shoelace, and it was made to put on, to take off, to put on, to take off. Okay. Says the Gemara, my kesher gemala, my kesher asapanim. As we just spoke out, there were two knots. There was the one on the nose of the camel. There was the one on the mast. Those were tied and left. Then there was the other one that was for the tying the camel to the post, tying the ship to the harbor. Which one is chayiv doiraisa? Ile mekitra, the katre bizamama, the one that connects, right, to the ring nose, the one that's made there, not lo ilamis, it's made liyamim achadim, but not lo ilamis, or v'kitra, the katre be'isterida, or the one that goes through not the one that's on the mast, but the one that goes through it, connecting the ship to the shore. That cannot be. Hai kesher she'eino shel kayamahu. And if it's a kesher she'eino shel kayama, even though many times it will be asan midrabanan, but the Mishnah says the words chayiv, ella kitra de zumama gufei, or ude isterida gufam. Rav Meir Oimer says, the Gemara referring back to the Mishnah, that any kesher that you can be makli ba'achas miyadav ein chayiv, says the Gemara, boy Rav achad voy. Right, the brother of Mar'acha, Anivel Rav Meir Mahu. I'm sorry, here's the bow. I'm sorry. The Gemara wants to know, what is the bow that Rav Meir? What is Shitas Rav Meir with the bow? What's the question? You can do it ba'achas miyadav. So here, what did Rav Meir mean? Time of the Rav Meir, Mishum the Yachal Atira ba'achas miyadav, who? All we care about, can you undo it with one hand? Even though you plan to leave it there. And therefore, if you make a bow, doesn't matter how tight it is. Since you can undo a bow with one hand, according to Rav Meir, you'll never be chayiv. No. Rav Meir was not giving a siba, in the words of a yeshiva, he gave a siman. If a knot, even a double knot, if a knot was not tightly tied, it's loose, which is why you can undo it with one hand. That's why you're not chayiv, because you never really tied it, because it wasn't tight. Maybe he meant, but if you make, like we do on the shoelaces, you make it tight, even though it's a bow, maybe according to Rav Meir again, if you made to leave it there, lo ilamis, you'll be chayiv midaraisa, both for kesher and for matid, and the Gemara Taka says tekel. What's not clear is Rav Meir referring to the bow, or is Rav Meir dafka speaking about something that's not tight? But if something is tight, even though you can undo it with one hand, and that's, by the way, many knots can be undone with one hand. It has a lot to do with the fibers of the rope itself. Will it be asur d'oraisa or not? That's the question that remains standing. Next Mishnah. We're just diving into the sugya.
Rabbi, is Rav Meir for sure arguing on the Tanakama, or?
Yeah, Rav Meir, Shitas Rav Meir. No, according to the Tanakama, we don't care about achas miyadav. We don't care about that altogether. It's not negeya. According to Rashi, it's only negeya zman, meaning for how long did you intend to tie it for? Don't forget, right? Let's go. The matir by the chalazin, the nets of the chalazin were de facto untied, but making that knot in the nets is also d'oraisa, because normally you would leave it. Just to make it clear, it's even a knot that's made lo ilamis. It doesn't mean that the fact that you now are deciding to untie it, it doesn't never retroactively proves it wasn't done lo ilamis. No, that's asur d'oraisa. This is like the one in the nose of the camel. Maybe every now and then they would undo it, but it's called a knot. It's meant to state it. Says the Mishnah. These are the words. As we already understand from the Gemara. The ones that the first Mishnah spoke about is the one on the nose, the one in the mast. The other one is not chayiv. But what does that imply? It's not chayiv, but it's asur, because it's meant, right, liyamim achadim. And now the Mishnah gives a third category, not even asur midrabanan. Kosheres isha miftach chalukah. The chalukah of a woman is some sort of undergarment that in the times of Chazal, on both shoulders, there were straps for her to remove it. And she is allowed to undo it, which the Mishnah is speaking about tying it. She's allowed to tie it, which means she may also untie, because they are meant to be tied and untied every time she puts on or takes off this chalukah. Likewise, one is allowed to tie the chutei sevacha, strings of a hat, the hat to stay strong on the head, and they would untie it. She is allowed shel piskia, the strings of a girdle, And everyone now, or the choice, minnow and sandal, both the straps of a shoe and the straps of a sandal are allowed to be tied and untied. Mutar lachatchila, the noidis yain the shemen. They used to have the jugs that were made out of animal skin, and you used to tie the opening on the top, and they were meant to be open, to be closed, whether it's wine in there, whether it's oil in there, ukadeda shalbasa. Sometimes instead of having a lid, they would have some sort of shmata, that they would a cloth, and they would tie it onto the pot. But then again, it was made to be tied and untied. And Eliezer ben Yaakov Achidish, that Kaisen Lifnei Behema, the Shul Shalei say they used to have stalls of animals. We'll see in the Gemara more details to the Chiddush of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and they would have different ropes, and those ropes, in order for the animals to go in and out, needed to be tied and untied. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov holds that you are allowed, again, to do them on Shabbos. Both to tie, that's the rule. Anything that's mutter to tie, mutter lahated. Anything that's asur to tie, asur midrabban lahated. Anything that's chayiv, then it's chayiv lahated as well. Now, the beginning, the flow of the Mishnah doesn't work. Asks the Gemara, how go for kasha? From the implication, Amrat, you began the Mishnah by saying, even in the kesher of Gemalim, even in the kesher of Sapanim, which implies chayuv the leke vayisura. So then you should have spoken about the Isser. And then the first thing the Mishnah writes afterwards, which means kosheres. Says more, yeah, you have to add. You have to add more in the between lines. I'm sorry, kikasher. That's the thing. What I'm saying stands. In other words, even in the kesher of Gemalim, the second one is only asur midrabanan. But the Mishnah is speaking about there are knots that are not like meaning you're not chayiv, but it's asur midrabanan. Umay nihu, what's asur midrabanan? Today's the kufyud beis kitrei the katre bizamama taka in, not the one that goes through the nose ring, but the rope, the leash that goes through the nose ring, and you tie it to a post. That is only asur midrabanan because it's a kesher liyamim achadim. All right, look inside the Rashi. That's Shitas Rashi. What does liyamim achadim mean? Rutsu arucha shemachnisin betabas asur lechatchila lekosh sham mepnei shepa'amim shemaniach sham shavua oy shvuayim. That's a very important Rashi, guys. Just on halacha l'maisa, we don't go by a week; we go by 24 hours. That's very important halacha. Back inside the Gemara. And likewise, the kitra, the katri be'istirida, the one that goes through the mast and you're going to put it to the harbor. That is taka liyamim achadim. Sometimes you leave the ship in the harbor, l'shvua shvuayim. And then go further in between the lines. Now, miftachei chalukah, of course, Shita, what's the chiddush there? Like, the novelty is the ishla today, doshe, you have two straps, like we mentioned, one on each shoulder, and therefore it's possible for a woman to tie one and to leave it tied, and she will be able, with difficulty, but she will be able to put on and to remove this undergarment by only tying or untying one other side. So therefore, maybe tying either side should be asur midrabanan, because maybe she's going to leave it there. Wow. And it should be asur kamash malan that it's mutter, because since it's easier for her to put it on, for her to take it off by tying both sides, we view this, even if she will actually leave it there, it's not a kesher even made liyamim achadim. Likewise, v'chutei sevacha, the strings of a hat, again, pshita, people who wear a hat, they tie it when they put it on, they untie it when they take it off, like, not pshita, it's needed, tzricha, the revichala. We're speaking about a hat that is able, you are able to put it on and or to take it off, even without untying. You can leave it tied. It's like many people that have shoes, even though it's a laced shoe, they can put their feet on and take it out without doing anything. Mutter. Why? Because the tema, you would think that mishlav shalfala, you would think that maybe these knots a woman will leave in. She'll leave in, at least it should be asur midrabanan. Kamash malan, the isha chasa al sa'ara, that a woman doesn't want to lose even one hair on her head, and therefore, if you leave it tied, when you take the hat off, it's taka loose, but it's not that loose. It might pull out her hair. So the umdana is that a woman would prefer to have it untied, and the omishra sharila. So again, even if she leaves it, it's a hats. We don't have this today in our hats. Those type of tyings are mutter. Uratsuais, minol, the sandal. Our Mishnah allowed both minol and sandal, and now we're starting the whole sugya. Let's begin with stiras. The sandal. We have 3 braises, and each one has another opinion. Tanach. Now, don't forget, just not to confuse. It's the same thing. Our Mishnah is speaking about kosher. This braisa is speaking about matir, right? Hitit. Doesn't matter. They always go hand in hand. One braisa says chayv chatas. Says in braisa number 2, pator avol asur. Says in braisa number 3, mutar lechatchila. The braisa is speaking both about minol and about sandal. Hasta kasha, both minol and mindol. Kasha, sandal, sandal. Answers the Gemara. Min and al minol loy sandal. When it comes to shoes, ho diktani chayv chatas is bide ushpe, bide ush kafe. Ushkafe means a shoemaker. Now here's the machlokes Rashi and Rambam. So Rashi around 13 lines from the top of the Amid, right? Rashi bid ushkafe bekesher sheho ushkaf oisa. A shoemaker's not kishet toichev haratzua biminol. There's part of the strap that is affixed in the shoe itself. Koisher kesher mit toichoi sheleduchal. What says? V'hu zakt Rashi kayom la'olam. According to Rashi, there is one criterion, time, period. Rambam understands this Gemara different. It's not only about, did you plan to leave it there forever? Did you plan to leave it there liyama machadim? Did you plan to tie or untie every day? The Rambam adds, for you to be chayv doiraisa, it has to be a maisa uman, a professional's knot. We're going to learn now, and that brings a kula and a chumrah. But we're going to go to Shitas Rashi. So that's one case. The next brayso that says pater avol asur is bid'rabanan. This is mamish gavaldik. Bid'rabanan means rabbinic shoes. What's rabbinic shoes? So Rashi writes, look inside the Rashi, that kisha koishim savav reglayim, when they put it on their feet, in koishim b'doichik. They don't have to put it on very tight. Shapa'anam shechaltzai, kisha hu kashud. Many times the rabbis take off their shoes when it is still tied up. Now, the advantage of slip-ons is something that everyone appreciates, not only the Rabbanon, but here's the difference. The difference is that the Rabbanon, right, mekvetch bank, we're sitting and learning the whole day. So when a person doesn't have to walk outside, they can make the knots of their shoes looser. The advantage is it becomes a slip-on. The disadvantage is you can't walk properly, but they don't need to, they're not going anywhere. So since they don't make it that tight, so for them, now, do they never take it off? Every now and then, when they walk outside, they have to tighten it. So that's called, they at least tie it, liyam machadim, it's asr midrabanan. So says Rashi. The Ri, not over here, says Gavaldik. He says that Rabbanon, they only went home to sleep for Shabbos. That they learned 24/6. And when they learned in the Beis Medrash, they never went to sleep. They would sleep on their benches. They never took off their shoes. So since they never took off their shoes for the whole week, so whenever they did tie their knots, it's called the liyam machadim. How great is that? We had this so many times. With the wealthy people, the hoicha people. They always have to dress like $1 million. They put on their shoes. It has to look perfect, including that has to be laced perfectly. Whenever they put it on properly. But then whenever they took off the shoes, they needed to untie the laces. It's like by us, we're the b'nei mechuzaniks, and therefore by us, it's mutar lechatchila. That's by minol. Sandal loy kashem. The tani chayv chatas b'de tayoi de kotrei ush kafe. That there are certain types of sandals, right? That the Arabs that wear them, again, we're speaking about, there are 2 parts to the strap in the sandal. One is affixed in the sandal. And it was done permanently. Now, again, is it the pshat that it's a maisa uman? Or Larashi, again, it was put on to be left. Even when you take on your shoes, you take off your sandals, one part of those Arabian sandals always had the knot in there. That's unique because other sandals in the times of Chazal, it was like just a sole, and then they would have rope that they would tie it around their feet. So there was never any part of the sandal that had a rope affixed to it. That was normally by shoes. But the Arabian sandals were like shoes. But the Lavan also is b'dechumar to the Katrinu. It goes to the, even in the Arabian sandals, one side of the rope was affixed to the sandal, and the other one was what you tied on your foot. And that again, you did and you undid it. Now, what's pshat? Why is that Pata Avolasur? Because, I'm sorry, the Chumarta means the side that's tied onto the sandal, but it wasn't done by a professional. It was done in a way that it wouldn't last that long. So even the rope on the sandal, every few days would get undone, and you would have to do it again. So it's liyam machadim. But the lechatchila is the ones that we use. Is besandal the nafke today. He's giving a great example that you have a sandal that the sole. Today, what size sandal are you wearing? In those days, many people they would share the same sandal. A shoe would never work. If someone is smaller than you, they're not going to fit into your shoe. Their feet will fall out. But by the sandal, even though the sole is bigger, but you tie it, think about it, it's just a sole. So you have a size 10, your son is 4 years old, he can wear your sandal. Just tie the rope around his foot. No, it's the part that is tied around the foot. That's something that always will be tied and untied. A sandal that's worn by two people that have two different sizes, they will always tie and untie that rope in order for it to fit a larger foot, to fit a smaller foot. And that's kid the Rav Yehuda. The Rav Yehuda, Achuya, the Rav Salah Hasida, Havale, Huzaga, the sandale. Right, he had a pair of sandals. Zimnin, the Nafak Bey Iu, sometimes he wore it. Zimnin, the Nafak Bey Yanuki, sometimes his son went out with it. Obviously, in other words, there were ropes on the sandal that he constantly would have to change to make it bigger, to make it smaller. And also, Lakami da Abaya, this Rav Yehuda and Amar Lei, Kahai Gavna Maya, am I allowed to untie? Can I untie these sandals on Shabbos? You have to. It's a type of sandal that because he's sharing it with someone else, there were some of the ropes that were always tied and untied. So Abaya's initial reaction was Amalei Chayav Chatos. Chayshiru Matir. Matir is the Isur Av. Amalei. So Rav Yehuda challenges him. Hold on. I knew that you're not Chayav Chatos. I was thinking maybe it's Mutir, maybe it's Asur Midrabanan. If you would have told me it's Asur Midrabanan, it would have been hard for me to swallow it. Hashta Patur Avol Asur Kokashili. Chayav Chatos Choamratli. So right away, Abaya understood that he did not get all the information, and B'chlal Mikan, that when you go to a Rav with a Shaila, you have to share information, because the Psak Din is based on the Metzias. And here, the Paisik was lacking information. My Tama, this is what Abaya is telling Rabbi, why would you think it's Zichanat D'Oraisa? Amalei Rabbi Yehuda says, because my sandals, I constantly untie these ropes, because I have to do it when my son wears it. Mishum de b'chol nami zimnin nafikna be ano and zimna nafik be yanuka. So therefore, I never would even leave these ropes liyamim achadim. Abai says Oibazoy is gonna under the ma'aser. Amalei yachim u'telachatchila. Share information to the Rav, and also on the Rav, when you hear a shaila, don't jump and give an answer. You have to ask more questions to get more information, to know what the halacha will be. Now says the Gemara, Rabbi Yirmiyah have a ka'azul basri the Rabbabohu in a Carmelis. Remember, a Carmelis is a place in where midrabanan you may not carry 4 amas or more. So as Rabbi Yirmiyah is walking behind Rabbabohu, Ifsek Retsua the sandalei, Rabbi Yirmiyah's Retsua of the sandal broke off, and now you got a problem. See, if this would not have been in a Carmelis, we'll get to the issue whether you can carry the sandal. Maybe the sandal now became muksa. Why would the sandal become muksa? Because something that was a keli, that is no longer a keli, de facto becomes muksa. Here, you can't even carry, even if it's not muksa. So Rabbi Bo's sandal. No. Rabbi Yirmiyah's sandal got cut off. So he was walking behind the great Rabbi Bo. So he asks Rabbi Bo, Mal Navidli, is there any solution? Do I have to just abandon it? So Rabbi Bo says, no. Shkol Gemilach, take a moist reed, right? A moist reed means that as it is, it's chazi l'maychel behema. So the reed is not muksa. The sandal, again, not the Arabian sandal. It was just a sole. And you would tie the rope around it, it should stay affixed on your feet, and tie it on your feet. Now, what's the chiddush? We'll see the chiddush here is that the broken sandal was not rendered muksa. Because if the broken sandal would have been rendered muksa, then even though you figured out how to get a non-muksa dika rope, the gemilach, and by the way, the gemilach needed to be within daladamas, but the fact that it's not muksa, that alone is a big chiddush, and the Gemara therefore is going to ask, okay, so remember this story. So Rabbo Paskin used the gemilach. Now the Gemara brings another story. Abaya have a koi kami de Rabbi Yosef. And koi kami de Rabbi Yosef doesn't mean in a karmelis. Here, Abaya is in a reshus hayachid. And if Seklei Abaya's sandal ropes broke off, and he asked Rabbi Yosef, "My Avidlei, Amalei, no shafke, leave it, leave it." That means that the sandal is muksa. Now that's a stira. Obviously, the sole was not muksa. Answers the Gemara, Hassan over there in the case of Rabbi Yirmiyah, since it broke in a karmelis, if he would have left it there, someone would have stolen it. Loy mintar. It's not guarded. Hachi, in the case of Abaya, it's in a private property. He was standing in front of Rabbi Yosef, mintar. So now we're hearing of Sachidish. Yeah, we have in halacha sometimes, behefsid meruba, the Rabbanans were lenient. We never yet had in Shabbos that if you're going to lose, and it's not even hefsid meruba, if you're going to lose the sandal, what are we saying? That we put muktzah aside the makim hefsid? You're not going to find this anywhere. So the Ravid, and he's commonly quoted, says a gavaldik catch-22 for your benefit. Since if the sandal breaks in the private yard, since you are not afraid that someone is going to steal it, listen to the logic, you don't mind leaving it there. Even if you have a solution of putting on this gemilach, why would you wear a gemilach? Why? Leave it there, and after Shabbos, no one is going to steal it. Then get a new rope and re-sandal your sandals. But when you lose it in the karmelis, dafke, because you know that if you're going to leave it there, it's going to be stolen, it's not guarded. So now you don't mind wearing it in an improvised way. The fact that you don't mind wearing it in an improvised way, that in itself makes it that it's not muksa. In other words, we're going to go even in today's daf. If you have a keli and the keli has a hole, is it a keli or is it batul? Are you a balabayis? Are you a professional? It has a lot to do with the das, with the behavior of the owner. If you are still going to use it as is, it still retains pleiras keli. When some of your garments break in a karmelis or for sure in a reshus harabim, since you don't want to use it, you as the owner, you will use it in an improvised way. Ubemeil, it's not muksa, gavaldik. But not that we're doicha muksa, but makim hefsid. That's gavaldik. Okay, weiter. Let's go to Abaya's case. Abaya's case was that the sandal broke. Now, what really happened was, just to get used to it, we have what we're going to call flaps, and we have the ears. The flaps are loops that are on the sides of the sandal, right, lahavdil? So let's say you have one loop here, and you have one loop here. You have the outer side of the sandal. The inner side of the sandal is where this sandal faces the other sandal, the inner side. So if it's on from your right foot, it's the left side. If it's the sandal from your left foot, it's the right side. That's the inner. When these loops break, even if the strap didn't break, if the ear didn't break, you can't put it into the sandal. So these are the issues that we're going to be talking about over here. So says the Gemara, hold on. Now another detail that Rashi speaks out beautifully. When these flaps, when they break, do people fix them? Well, it depends, says Rashi, in the times of the Gemara. If the inner ones broke, since they are less visible, even though when you fix them, they don't look so nice, the owner doesn't care because they are harder to be seen. If the outer ones, these flaps, if they break, they rip, even though you can knot them and fix them, you're never going to do that. Why are you never going to do it? Because everyone is going to see that you have, fixed ugly sandals, and therefore you will never fix them. Now comes the big question. That will be the rest of the Amud over here. The sandals of those days, unlike today's sandals that they already make an arch for your foot, they were made out of sole, a piece of leather. Could people use something that was originally made for the right foot? Can they put it on the left foot? B'diavad, they could have. Do we take that into halachic account? Because if something that is on the right can go on the left, so let's go into this case. So let's say the outer flap ripped. you will never fix it. It's going to look ugly because everyone is going to see it. But if you're going to choose now to use this on the left foot, then the outer one becomes the inner one. So let's read inside the Gemara. Why should it ever become muktzah? I get it, that you're not going to fix the flap, but in the small, some people will change it, will start using this for the other foot, and that will render the brokenness of the flap to be in a less discernible place, so it should never become muktzah. So what's the problem? Amalei, that we do not subscribe to this logic. How do I know that? Because really, it's a machlekes tanoim. Whether we say that since some people are going to take a shoe or a sandal of the right and put it to the left, or from left put it to the right, that's a machlekes tanoim. That Rabbi Yehuda does not subscribe to it, and since the great Rabbi Yochanan made a statement that was to further explain the shita of the Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda, as we'll speak in a moment, what are they referring to? Rabbi Yochanan would only explain shitas Rabbi Yehuda if he would paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. And yes, he expounds Rabbi Yehuda araya that he paskins like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda, that's the whole shita we're going to learn in a moment, doesn't say that since some people put a sandal from the right to the left, left to the right, we take that into account. We don't take that into account. And since the story of Abaya was that the flap was in the outer part of the sandal, no one were to fix it, takin becomes a bottle, and it becomes muktzah, at least in Eider Shusayach. Now, what machlekes Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda that Rabbi Yochanan explained, Rabbi Yehuda, what are you talking about? Ma'ida Tanya, sandal shenifseku shtei oznav, the ears are not the flaps, but in the flaps they would put something that when you would put the sandal on, you would grab it and you would hold it tight to your foot while you would tie it. Those are called the ears. Same concept. If the outer one broke, fixing that would be uglier. People wouldn't do it. If the inner one broke, so the Braisa begins. If they both broke, or today's Yosef are the flaps that we're talking about, these little loops through which you would put the tzuos, right? The tzuos holders. That's the today's Yosef. Or if the whole bottom somehow was removed, that is completely bottled from, it's no longer a sandal. Now this Braisa is not speaking about Hilchas Shabbos, we're speaking about Hilchas Tumah V'Tara. Something becomes Tameh, some articles can be taken to the mikveh, but before you take something to the mikveh, if the article loses its Torah of being a keli, automatically the Tumah goes away. What happens if it only loses achas miyaznav, or achas miteresi yosef, or shenitol roiva kaf shaloi? The Chachamim hold that since these are things that could be fixed, so it retains its status of a keli. If the keli was tamei before, it remains tamei. No one is going to fix the oizen or the trei yosef if it's on the outer part. True, no one will fix it. But you know what the balabas will do? He'll change feet and he'll render it into the inner part. That's what the Chachamim hold. That was the kasha that we had on the story of Abaya. But Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with that. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, no, depends where. If Nifsukah Pnimius, if the Oizen Pnimius broke, if the flap in the Pnimius broke, Taka, you're right. People fix it, even though now it's broken, but it doesn't lose its halachic status of a keli. Keli meaning here a sandal. But if Hachitzoina taught, people change it, most people don't. That's the machlekes. Now let's go to Rabbi Yochanan. Here's the key. Whichever one said it, he said it in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that kimachloikas le'inyan tuma, as we just explained, same as machloikas le'inyan Shabbos. That's the case. Shabbos is a muktzah or not? Does it become muktzah or not? Avaloi le'inyan chalitza. Can that shoe be used for chalitza? There, by chalitza, there is no argument. So says Rabbi Yochanan. Now, when he's saying there's no argument, does he mean by chalitza? Who is moida to who? Is it no machlokes that Rabbi Yehuda is moida to the chachamim, which would then mean that he's focusing on the chachamim? Everyone agrees to the chachamim, or is he focusing on Rabbi Yehuda? The Gemara is going to work it out. Now, b'havinan ba Rabbi Yochanan liba dama. If it's a liba darabanan, that what? That midlein tuma manahu, which means it doesn't lose its status no matter which side the one oizen or the one flap broke. Le'inyan Shabbos namamana, if you're wearing a sandal and on Shabbos the oizen breaks off, the flap breaks off, it's still called a mana. It's not muksa. That's lakula. And on that, abaloy lechalitza. But the Chachamim will say, oh, but not for chalitza, meaning that if, this is the key, my friends, first of all, a klal, that chalitza is when the man, the brother-in-law, is wearing that shoe on his right foot, ma'akev. Now the question is, what happens if this chacham, the brother-in-law, the Beis Din, the chachamim here, they put a sandal that was made for the left foot if they put it on his right foot? So she did chalitza properly. She took it off his right foot, but it wasn't meant to go on the right foot. Is that the case that we are referring to? And on that, we're saying that the chachamim are moide, that it's not called a mana. That can be. L'kula alma, that's good. But it says in a Mishnah that chotza shall smile. If a sandal that was meant for the left, if he de facto wore it on the right and she removed it from the right, chalitzasik sheira. So in other words, avaloy le'in chalitza is not focusing on the Rabbanan at all. The whole statement of Rabbi Yechanan is focusing on Rabbi Yehuda. The statement, and for Rabbi Yechanan to say, even though we Rabbi Yehuda's taka is Rabbi Yehuda, but even Rabbi Yehuda's moide by chalitza loy. That is the way we can extrapolate that Rabbi Yechanan is paskening like Rabbi Yehuda. That will be the teretz for the story. Belelli with Rabbi Yehuda, that what? The middling and tuma lav mana, le'in Shabbos, taka lav manahu. Lav mana means the story of Abaya, even though you can argue, hold on, why is it batal? Switch it to the other foot. We don't say that halachically. Avaloy lechalitza, that even Rabbi Yehuda's moide, that what? That it is a mana. Okay, first of all, so far so good to explain Abaya, but that also cannot be the meaning of Rabbi Yechanan, because hold on, because we're confusing two cases. The case that we quoted in the Mishnah of Chalitza is that nothing broke. Pashit, the sandal of the right was put on the brother-in-laws, on the Yavam's, the sandal of the left was put on the Yavam's right foot, but at least that sandal is not broken. You're confusing issues. Yeah. But that's only the sandal didn't break. The challenge, the problem, the theoretical challenge is that you put from the left on the right. But over here, we're speaking about Li and Tuma. Here by Shabbos, by Muksa, we're speaking about the Lamil Lav Manu. It broke. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda Nifla Sachet Zainatar Alma Lav Manu. So let's understand. So what are we saying? That will Rabbi Yehuda be moided that for Chalitza this will be good? No, it can be. Fakir. Since Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's batul mitayra skeli, Tuma goes away. It remains muksa. Rabbi Yehuda should l'chayra also hold that if this man wore a sandal that was ripped, that it lost its tayra skeli, if the rip was on the outer part of the sandal, and it should not be a good chalitza. So the Gemara says, no, that's exactly what Rabbi Yechanan says. That not avaloy li'ing and chalitza. Ema v'chein lechalitza. And that even though true, even Rabbi Yehuda's maida, that what? That if a man wore the left sandal on his right foot, taka, it's kosher. You know why it's kosher? When the sandal was not ripped, the lamil say for the left, it's taka good. Elama, he put it on his right. Then it's okay. But here, if there is a default in the sandal because it ripped, even though the default is only because it ripped in the outer part, and you can argue like the Chachamim argue, so what? You can use it to change feet. No, we don't subscribe to that. And since we don't subscribe to that, the lamil say lav manahu. If it becomes tahar, if it becomes muksa. So if a man wore this sandal, it is not a valid chalitza. Okay, now that yes.
Can you explain quickly why, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, it's not tikkun mana when he tied up the sandal?
Because we're going into this detail, going back to the Ravid, that when a person has a challenge, b'reshus harabim or b'karmelis, in a case where they are able to improvise and to wear it. Most people would not improvise and wear it. I would not improvise and wear it if it's in my home, when I'm not afraid of losing it. When something breaks in a location that if indeed I will not improvise and figure out how to wear it, I'm going to have to leave it there, and therefore I will lose that utensil altogether, then there a person's kavanah is, I'm going to improvise. It's a great concept. Okay, back over here. So we're focusing here on Shitas Rabbi Yechanan b'd Rabbi Yehuda. Umi Amar Rabbi Yechanan Hachi. Basically, you're telling me that Rabbi Yechanan paskins like Rabbi Yehuda, that we don't say that people change feet. The Amar Rabbi Yechanan, based on Rabbi Yechanan's rule that Allah is Mishnah, and we're quoting Chevra Mishnah Emesachtes Kelim. Sandal shenitzika achas meyaznov. A sandal that one of these ears, it can be either the ear or the flap. If one of them broke, and he fixed it. Now, this fixing it right now is not negayah, it's negayah for the next part of the Mishnah. What's the issue here? Whether you fixed it or not, if the Zav wore the sandal, sandals are made, to bear the weight of the Zav, so it becomes Tameh on the level of an Av, Tumas Midras. Now, what happens if one of the Oznav ripped? So the Mishnah says, again, whether you fixed it or not, Tameh Midras. Why would it be Tameh Midras? It must be because it doesn't lose its status as a sandal. Why not? Like the Chachamim. Because if this Mishnah, and it's a Stam Mishnah, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it would depend. It would depend. If the inner Oznav broke, since people fix it, it remains a sandal. But if the outer one breaks, it's not a sandal anymore. People don't change feet. And if the Mishnah doesn't make that difference, my lab is and in other words, the Mishnah, which is a Stam Mishnah, is paskening not like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yechanan says Allah is Stam Mishnah. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah only is referring to the inner one. You're telling me that Taka Tar doesn't make sense. Why does the Mishnah continue by saying in Ifsika? Now we go into why you fix it. One ear broke, you fixed it. And now the other ear broke. The second one broke, and you fixed the second one. You know what the Mishnah says? The Mishnah says a Gavaldic concept. One broke at a time. Now that both of them broke, even though only one was broken at a time, because one broke, you fixed it. Then the other one broke. It's already considered a new sandal. Because the one that was tamei before either ears broke, that was the old sandal. Now 2 ears are new. It's a new sandal. And therefore what? It loses its tumas midras. But on the other hand, it's not tar. You know why it's not tar? Because it never was bottled from being a keli. So it touched itself. So a midras is an av. Now it only has tumas rishon, but it's tamei rishon. Says the Mishnah, tar min midras, avol tamei maga midras. Asks the Gemara if the Reish is only speaking about a sandal that the inner ear or the inner flap tore. Niflik bidida. The Mishnah can tell you the same chiddush by saying the following: that it loses its status of midras, right? So when does it remain tamei midras? Only shnifsika premius. Avol chitzoina, since you'll never fix it, it's tar. Elama, it's tamei maga midras. You could have said the same thing without going into both ears. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, tehei Mishnah Seinu. It must be for Rabbi Yechanan not to be refuted. He expounds Rabbi Yehuda by Chalitza. He also says halacha kista Mishnah. It must be that besandal sheyesh lei arba oznayim ba'arba tereisis yosim. That we're speaking about a sandal that has 4 ears. 2 and 2. That means even the outer part has 2. True, when both of them rip, it becomes batal mitayra skeli, right? You can make it into the inner. We don't change feet. But if only one of them broke, then you can still use it. People don't even have to fix it, and that's the case of the Mishnah. If one of them broke, it remains tamei midras. Even though you fixed one and now you made the other one, and the other one, you fixed one and then the other one broke, even though you fixed the other one. So again, the Mishnah paskins that it loses tumas midras, but it's tamei maga midras. Why do we have to sign the Mishnah and Kalim that it's speaking about there are 4 ears or there are 4 straps? That means even the outer side has 2. All shaloi lishbar devar shel Rabbi Yechanan. Now, weiter says the Gemara, halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda, which is what we're learning. People don't switch sandals. B'negeya dinei tuma, b'negeya dinei muktzah. However, look, Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael quoting that Rabbi Yochanan says, "Ein halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda, oy gewalt," that goes against our whole sugya. Umi amar Rabbi Yochanan achi, mi de metaretz Rabbi Yochanan live Rabbi Yehuda, shma mina ke Rabbi Yehuda svir alei. Indeed, says the Gemara, amiroi ninu va'aliba de Rabbi Yochanan. But you know something? You know what's not a problem? What's not a problem is the story of Abaya. Clearly, Abaya and Rabbi Yosef, they do paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, which is why in the case that it was a B'rashus HaYachid, the outer parts of the shoe broke in a place where people don't fix it. If you don't fix it, it becomes muktzah, vaited. Now that we quoted this whole sugya, Tanan Asam, Nacha Mishnah from Kalim. Let's move. Kol klei balabatim shiurim kirimayim. When you're speaking about a breakage in a utensil, how bad does it have to be for it to lose Tairas Keli? So if you remember a few daf ago, we had the 5 steps of Rava. When we're speaking about a Keli of a balabayis doesn't need things to be perfect. You're not a professional. If you have a Keli and there is a hole, Kemoitza Zayis, you'll still use it. You're not going to throw it out. Only when it has a hole, Kemoitza Rimain, then you're going to discard it. So now on that Boya Chizkiah, what happens if Nikiv Kemoitza Zayis? And you fixed it, and then they got another hole, another Kemoitza Zayis. It was a Samai. And that kept on happening. There was never at one time Kemoitza Rimain. But if you accumulate all of the prior holes, now you have together a theoretical Moitza Rimain. Do we say that since it all together it has a Moitza Rimain, so it's batal, and therefore it's tahar, or does it remain tamei? So when Rabbi Yochanan heard that, he tells Chizkiah, I have the answer. The Mishnah of the sandal. Rabbi Yochanan, oh, Rabbi Shanisalano, you taught that. You taught us the Mishnah in Kalim. That was the whole beauty. Again, the sandal, forget about if I had 2 or 1. One side broke, you fixed it. The other side broke, and you fixed it. There was never a moment that both of them were broken at the same time. Nevertheless, since both of these ears, both of these loops are new, when it became Tameh originally, it had the old ones, and now both are new, we say it's a new sandal, right? It lost Tumas Midras. It loses its Tumas Midras. We do combine them. Just like we combine them by the sandal, we combine them by the hole in the keli. Again, this is counterintuitive for us who are balabatim, because you would argue there was never a moment that a rimoin would go out of the hole. You know what? You don't want to use a patched up keli. Even a balabas, that's not so makbid, but since accumulatively it has the size of a moitzer rimoin, you will discard it. It's not a keli, it loses its tumah. Now what? We learned sandal, but then and why is it that when the first ear broke, it's still Tamei Midras? Because at that moment there was the other one. Hold on. But when the other one broke, the first one was fixed already. And you, Chizkiah, explained to us your Talmidim, including Rabbi Yochanan, I'll tell you why. Because the bottom line is, the sandal became Tamei originally with both of its old flaps. Now it has 2 brand new flaps. So we say, Panim Chadasha is Ba'olakan. So much of it is new that the tumah of the old cannot continue. Hachinami, even though you fixed every Moitza Zayis before it had a new Moitza Zayis, it never had a Moitza Rimain hole. Nevertheless, it's so patched up. Hachinami Panim Chadashas Ba'olakan. And Chizkiah was so happy with the answer of Rabbi Yochanan that he Kari Alei, Chizkiah declared on Rabbi Yochanan, Leis Dein Bar Inish. This is not a person. Das is nishken mensch lemal yusa, says Rashi 5 lines under the Gemara. Ella malach, or another version, ikadamri uka, going Dein Bar Inish. This is a great man. And now we're going, Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav Bar Zimoina. Indeed, the greatness of those. The concept of Yeridas Hadoira is that if the original ones, like Rabbi Yochanan, declared by his teacher Chizkiah that you're not a myrtle, you're not a human being, you're not a barinish, you're a malach. If they are malachim, which they are, then you know what? Then we are only considered bnei anashim. We are the sons of men. According to the second version that Chizkiah called Rabbi Yochanan a man, if he's a man, then we are like donkeys. And don't think that we are like the donkeys of Rab Chanina ben Doisa that we have according to some versions in Tainus, that whole story, that whenever he would rent out his donkey and people would pay for the rent by putting the money of the rent on the donkey, and the donkey would go back to Rab Chanina ben Doisa. And if the renter would put more extra money or too little money, the donkey would not budge. And there's a whole story that the renter left his sandals on the donkey. The donkey didn't budge. He put the right amount of rent because the donkey didn't want to steal. We're not even like that donkey. The donkey of Pinchas ben Yair, we learned already more recently in Chulin, in the beginning, that Vav over there, in the whole story of Pidyon Shvoyim, that the donkey of Pinchas ben Yair would not even eat from vegetables whose tithings are only midrabanan. It would not even eat from that. So we're like Chamayim, but not like their Chamayim. The concept of Yeridas HaDoros, and as the Rebbe always emphasizes, that it's important for us to know that Im Rishayim Kevenei Malachim, not even like the Chamayim of the Gemara. These are not the words that Rebbe said, but we are Kenanos al Gabi Anok. The Rebbe said this so many times. We're midgets, but we're not midgets beginning from 0 kilometer, 0 kilometer. We are on the shoulders of a giant. So if you have a midget, he's like a midget. But if he's standing on the shoulders of a giant, the reason why our generation will bring the redemption, Yeridas HaDoros Emes. But all of the Torah and all of the mitzvahs and all of the Ma'asim Tovim and all of the Avodah, all of the prior generations are eternal. They are with us. So we have all of that. All we need is a little bit more. We're talking a little, but we are a little bit more. Let's go on another few lines. The Noidishain V'Shemen, the Mishnah gave that as an example that you could tie or untie. The Mishnah spoke about tying. Pshita, of course, it's made to be tied every time you drink wine, you tie and untie them. We're speaking about a certain type of jug that had 2 ears. There were two ways to get the liquid out. So again, you can argue that maybe this person is going to tie one and leave it there. We don't know which one, so none of them should be permitted. Like that was like by the undershirt by the woman. No, that since people would like using both, it's okay. Next one, again, pshita. How are you going to get the food out of the pot if you're not going to tie it and untie it? Of course, it's meant to be it's not even a liyama machadim. No, like tzricha, the islay shalacha. We're speaking about a pot that has a spout. There is a way of getting the food out and in without opening up the cover. That maybe this person, Batulim Evatullah doesn't mean lo ilamis, but at least liyama machadim, so it should at least be yasim in Rabbanan. Let's hop on invited. We speak about the rope of an animal in front of a stall. Again, shita. So light tzricha, there is beitarte isori. Rabbi Yaakov's case is that the stall has 2 ropes, one on the top, one on the bottom. Yes, mazel tov daf kufyud gimel chadim yinai batulim avakel. That again, since it's possible to allow animals to leave the stall, by here it's only the top one. The top one you're going to leave closed. By untying the bottom one you can already kratz to get the animals out. And maybe therefore the top one at least should be awesome with Rabbanan. Kamash Malam, no, that since it's a lot easier by untying both of them are considered not even liyama machadim, and therefore it's mutar lachatchila. And on that, Amar Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda Mishmuel, halachic Elyahu ben Yaakov. By the way, this goes back. Danny, you asked in the previous year by Daf Meir, or in this year. This goes back to this. So halacha again, the same. We had this a few daf ago. Amalei Abaya. What do you mean halacha like him? Are you implying that the chachamim argue with him? Now hold on, and let's say they argue with him or they don't argue with him, right? Abaya is not being bothered with the halacha part. Yeah, we paskin like him. He's bothered that it implies there was an argument. Abaya holds there was no argument. Everyone holds that it's mutter. But why are you saying halacha? So Amalei said, Rabbi Yosef tells him, why do you care if I make that statement? My nafkalach mina. You're not challenging my halacha. You're only saying, why did I need to say it? Because avada we paskin that way because there's no argument. But we do paskin this way. So Amalei Abaye says, no. It's Gemara is a murder to hey. David's Midrash Torah has to be precise. We have to learn Torah on the highest of levels. On the highest of levels, it's when doing biyoser. And on that level, no, you don't say halacha if there will not be a machlokes, and he holds that there is no machlokes. God willing to be continued. Guys, we did it.
We're back.
Here we go.
Back, Rabbi.
Great.
Happy Father's Day.
All right, the father's wishes.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
Good, guys.
Happy Zadie Day.
Happy. All right.
Well,